What was the largest military operation in history? It was Operation Barbarossa, an audacious assault launched by Nazi Germany against the Soviet Union in 1941. This campaign's scale and impact on World War II were unparalleled. Let's delve into the events that shaped this monumental military operation. Before we dive into the operation, let's understand the political and military landscape. The years leading to Operation Barbarossa were marked by uneasy alliances. The Nazi-Soviet non-aggression pact, a surprising truce, eventually crumbled under the weight of Hitler's ambition. With this background, the stage was set for the largest military operation in history. June 22, 1941, marked the beginning of Operation Barbarossa. With the first light of dawn, Nazi Germany launched the largest military operation in history against the Soviet Union. This surprise attack was a direct violation of the Nazi-Soviet non-aggression pact signed just 2 years earlier, and it caught the Soviets completely off guard. The German forces, known for their blitzkrieg or lightning war tactics, initially enjoyed great successes. Their rapid advance into Soviet territory was relentless, leaving a trail of devastation in their wake. The Red Army, ill-prepared for the scale of the onslaught, was forced into a hasty and disorganized retreat. The summer of 1941 saw key battles unfold, marking significant milestones in the campaign. The capture of major cities like Kiev, the capital of the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic, showcased the might of the German forces. Here, the Nazis not only gained control of important industrial centers, but also struck a severe psychological blow to the Soviets. Yet, as the year drew to a close, the tide began to show signs of turning. The vastness of the Soviet Union, coupled with its harsh weather conditions, presented logistical and strategic challenges for the invading forces. Despite initial successes, the German forces were soon to encounter significant challenges. As the operation advanced into summer and fall, the German forces faced increasing resistance. The Red Army, though initially taken by surprise, began to show a level of resilience that the German High Command had not entirely anticipated. The vastness of the Soviet territories also began to present logistical challenges for the invaders, as supply lines were stretched thin over the immense distances. The harsh weather conditions also played a significant role in stalling the German advance. As the Russian winter set in, the German troops, ill-equipped for such severe conditions, found their progress significantly slowed. The freezing temperatures and heavy snowfalls made both movement and survival increasingly difficult, further hampering the German offensive. During this period, two significant events stood out: the Siege of Leningrad and the Battle of Moscow. In Leningrad, the German forces initiated a lengthy blockade, resulting in one of the longest and most destructive sieges in history. Meanwhile, the Battle of Moscow saw the German forces attempt a direct assault on the Soviet capital, a move that would ultimately prove unsuccessful. The tide began to turn in 1942 as the German forces failed to capture Moscow. 1942 marked a significant turning point in Operation Barbarossa. The tide of the war began to shift as the Germans, who had been so successful in their initial onslaught, failed to capture Moscow. This was a blow to their strategic plans and marked the beginning of a series of setbacks. In the south, the city of Stalingrad became a symbol of Soviet resilience. The Red Army, determined to hold the city at all costs, launched a fierce counteroffensive. The battle raged on for months, with both sides suffering enormous casualties. Elsewhere, Soviet forces were also taking the initiative, launching counteroffensives and pushing back the invaders. The vastness of the Soviet Union, coupled with the harsh winter conditions, had taken a toll on the German forces. The strategic balance had shifted. The Germans were no longer the unstoppable force they appeared to be in the early days of the operation. The Soviets were now on the offensive, and 1943 would see them reclaiming lost territory. 1943 saw the Red Army on the offensive. The year kicked off with the culmination of a fierce and brutal struggle, the Battle of Stalingrad. Here, the Soviets had not only survived the German onslaught, but had turned the tables dramatically. The city, reduced to rubble and ruin, became a symbol of Soviet resistance and resilience. It was a major turning point on the Eastern Front, a stark signal to the world that the invincible German war machine could be halted and even defeated. Following Stalingrad, the Red Army began to reclaim their lost territory. With renewed morale and the strategic advantage, Soviet forces pushed back against the German invaders. They advanced steadily, recapturing cities and land that had been under Nazi control. The momentum had shifted, and the Soviets were now dictating the course of this war. The largest military operation in history had turned the tide of war against Nazi Germany. Operation Barbarossa, despite its initial successes, ultimately failed. Such a colossal military endeavor, with its profound ripple effects, left an indelible mark on the history of World War II. The German forces, initially sweeping through Soviet territory with a terrifying momentum, found themselves increasingly bogged down. Their failure to capture Moscow, coupled with the Soviet counteroffensives at Stalingrad and elsewhere, marked a strategic shift in favor of the Soviets. The year 1943 saw the Red Army reclaiming territory, turning the tide of the Eastern Front. The Battle of Stalingrad stands out as a significant turning point, a testament to the resilience of the Red Army and the Soviet people. Operation Barbarossa's overall impact on the Eastern Front and its broader implications for the war were profound. It marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany, while simultaneously forging the Soviet Union into a superpower. The consequences of this campaign resonated far beyond the battlefields, forever changing the course of history.